At She Can, we tell women's stories. We profile women from all over the world and all walks of life on their journey, how they got to where they are today. And I'm so excited to be talking to Lucy Yeomans today. Lucy, welcome to She Can. You are really a hot shot in the luxury and fashion industry. You're the creator and founder of Drest, which is the first ever luxury styling game. It's all about entertaining and shopping. And you have been the editor-in-chief of Net-a-Porter, its magazine, and the editor of the fashion magazine Harper's Bazaar in the UK. Tell us a little bit more about what you do now and a little bit more about your journey.
Okay, so where to start? I think you've said it all. I could just go and have a sleep now. No, as you said, I spent nearly 20 years as a magazine editor-in-chief before taking, I suppose, that brave next step, possibly a little later than I'd hoped, into starting my own business. So as you said, I'm now the founder and the co-CEO of Drest, which is, the world's first luxury fashion game. And I think just a little bit about dress before I kind of go on to myself, to the career, is that the desire to deliver dress really came as a desire to allow more people, fashion lovers everywhere, to step into this often very exclusive world of high fashion, and to give them the chance to get really, really creative. So in Dressed, we give our audience access to all the world's top brands, from Prada to Gucci, Valentino, Chloe. We allow them to style the product virtually from the latest collections. They get to work with top hair and makeup brands as well as models. So effectively, what I wanted to do was allow them access to the tools that I had in my days as an editor-in-chief, which of course allowed me to get very close to the brands, their storytelling, their product, etc. So it's a real kind of discovery experience. It's funny because it seems in lots of ways like a departure from being sort of editor-in-chief of Harper's Bazaar and Porter magazine. But the way I see it, it's still about storytelling. It's about connecting audiences and brands. It's about providing inspiration and education around this highly creative and inspiring and very alluring world. So that's kind of the dress story, with a little bit of but how I got there, I don't know how you want to run this.
Lucy, so what I think is really important and what I love and what the world loves, which is why Dressed is successful, is that you're really opening up this world of luxury that's not available to everybody, to the wider audiences of the world who are interested in this world, who love style, who love fashion, who love accessories, who love beauty and want to be involved with that. And you made it into a game, which really democratizing the world of luxury for more people. So how did you get to that point, Lucy? You were obviously an editor-in-chief. You explained your world and the access you had to all the top brands in the world and the designers and the models and all of the incredible beauty and luxury industry. What got you to the point where you thought, but now I've got more to do in this industry?
Yeah, I mean, there were a few moments along the way. I think even while I was still editing Harper's Bazaar, I remember seeing my nephews playing games. And, I would be on my way back from New York Fashion Week and I'd think, oh gosh, I've got to pick them up something at the airport. I'd be like, what are they doing now? They're playing PlayStation. So I'd sort of zip in and try and get them some games. Um, Interestingly, nothing for my niece. Everything looked terrible. So girls' games were at that time really, really poor.
Mm.
But I would come back and I would obviously sit with my nephews and I found the world that these games offered up. There was storytelling, there was fantasy, it was deeply immersive, deeply engaging. And I thought, gosh, imagine if there was a game about something that you really, really loved. So it just became this thing and then as I was sort of going about my work as an editor, going to shows, I kept I kept seeing the whole thing as a game, like the front rows, going from the back row to the front row, getting hold of those exclusive pieces, how you sort of progressed in your career. And I just thought, gosh, fashion, you know, a journey through a career in fashion is effectively an amazing game. It's almost there for you. At the same time, I think I then moved to Net-a-Porter, whereas you said I launched their global media division and founded Porter magazine, which I'm still so proud of. It's such a beautiful publication. But while I was there, we kept getting brands coming to us saying, how do I reach the next generation consumer? I need a Gen Z pitch. I need a Gen Z. And everything just felt a little bit cosmetic. It didn't really feel like it was getting to the heart of what this next generation wanted. And I think for me, interestingly, when you look at social media, you see that everyone wants to be a creative. Everyone's got a point of view. And I think this next generation coming through want to put their stamp on things. At the time I was an editor, you know, you're curating content, you're pulling together looks, you're kind of saying what's in fashion. And I think the world is moving so fast now. And this next generation, when they get involved in something, they want to get involved. They want to share their point of view. They want to say, yeah, you've started like this, but I would do it like that. And so I just kept kind of seeing these two elements. It was kind of like these two little light bulbs going off at different parts of my brain. And I thought, gosh, imagine if you created a game that was a journey that allowed you to step into this very real world. It's a fantasy world, the fashion world. It's a real fantasy world. You don't have to make it up in fashion, but through the gamification, through virtual fashion, virtual avatars, locations, makeup, all of these kind of aspects, there was a way for us to allow people to have the kind of deeply immersive experience that I've had as an editor. And I think that's so much fun for anyone. And you know, any mother who had to get a young child through lockdown will know learning timetable via a game is a much more satisfying way, an easier way as a mother to get your kids to learn how to do their times tables. But gamification for me is it just makes the whole experience incredibly fun. But what's wonderful is it's an incredible way. Sometimes I call it sort of finishing school for fashion. You know, it's a way for people to discover this world. Just discovery in fashion in the luxury industry, particularly sort of in the retail side, is one of the most difficult things. How to get that cut through? How does that brand connect with that, that there's so many brands out there, there's so much information. How do you get your cut through? How do you develop those brand affinities and education about brands in a really kind of fun, lively way? So for me, making a game of this world and allowing anyone to come in, get creative, get up close and personal with the products, the stories, the ad campaigns, the models, the makeup, that to me was kind of like this could be something very exciting. A factor on top of that, the fact that gaming, I'm not even going to sort of start listing the numbers around gaming, but it's the engagement levels, 3 billion gamers around the world. Since I think a lot of people, when you talk about gaming, there's still, or I think certainly when I started the company 5 years ago, it was kind of teenage boy, bedroom, really what's this got to do with luxury fashion? How do these worlds connect? But now with the advent of mobile games, over 50% of the players are women. And they spend a huge amount of time there. So as a content creator and communicator, I want to be where the audience is. And I think that's where they are. More are there than in film, music, etc. It's the biggest growing audience. So exciting for us as Drest, but also for the brands that we work with.
Lucy, and I love that the world that you inhabited and did so well, where you really were deciding on trends and what was in and out, and you took that onto Web3 and the metaverse, and you're really the co-architect of the fashion metaverse, which is such something that doesn't exist yet. What is your main motivator, Lucy?
I think, if I take back what connects like all of my roles that I've had, it's about I've been in very much in the women's sector. So it's always about putting the women first, putting the audience at the heart of every decision. So whether you're making a magazine, whether you're, whether you're creating a game, it's always trying to think of like, what's the story this person wants to hear? How am I going to tell it? What are the takeaways emotionally, physically? And I'm always on the side of the audience. We would be, when I was at Harper's, there would be a brand would call up and say, there's an incredible press trip to some incredible destination, and you're going to fly first class and you're going to stay in an amazing hotel and it's going to be beautiful. And we'd like 6 pages in the magazine. I'm like, well, I like that, but I think what's the reader going to take away from this? And so for me, I've always kind of really thought, if I do what's right by my woman, or or man, depending on which publication I'm on, but if I do what's right by them, then I'm going to do what's right by all of my commercial partners. And so for me, I remember when we launched Porter, and what was the cover line of the first issue? It was, fashion to make you feel phenomenal. And I love the idea of, through anything I do, of enhancing someone's experience, someone's life. Can they make the best of themselves? Can they encouraging people to see the best of themselves, to realize the best of themselves? And, as anyone who's worn that perfect lipstick or that Chanel jacket walking into that board meeting, I think fashion gives you confidence. That's what excited me about fashion and beauty, was that it armed you, made you feel your kind of best self. And I think that a great content experience, whether you're writing about travel or fashion or anything, it's about sort of enabling people to kind of live their best lives, be their best selves. So that's been my motivator. And I think it connects all of the elements in my career. Yeah.
Lucy, and what do you think are the qualities that you have that serve you so well in all of the endeavors that you have been involved with?
Um, Most recently, I would say stamina. just just like stick with it even when it's hard.
Yeah.
Um, that's the kind of, I would say that's the kind of like, that's the kind of foundational piece that you need. I think when you're in any industry, that grit, that ability to kind of stick out the hard times, it's never easy. Even going into Net-a-Porter, I was brought in by Natalie Massenet. She had a very clear vision around content and commerce. You go into an organization, even going into Harper's, when I joined there, it was Harper's and Queen, and I wanted to change it into Harper's Bazaar. And sometimes I was battling with the people within my organization. So I think that, you have to have that grit and that belief in what you're doing. And I think that's something I have. I think I also, I like I just like the ability. I think I think out of the box a lot. I'm always kind of looking at things from like different angles. And it's one of the things I'm kind of curious about AI. I'm like, can AI think out of the box? Can it look round corners? If when I had this idea like 12 years ago now, it was a long time ago, you'd said luxury fashion gaming, computer would have said, But I kind of love it when you have ideas that are kind of like, can we really do that? Even when we were at Harper's Bazaar or Porter, we didn't have access to a lot of photographers because we weren't part of the Vogue network. And we were always trying to push and go, well, how can we pull that off? How can we do that? So I love ideas that like are really quite splendid and ambitious. And then I love realizing them. And then probably lastly, I would just say curiosity. I love people. I love knowing what excites people, what inspires them, what interests them. And I think if you're not curious about people and what's interesting them or where they're spending their time, I don't think you can give them what you want. You give them what you think they want. And I think the closer you can get to your audience and to people, the better a product you'll deliver in whatever genre that is. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, Lucy, thank you for that. Lucy, you have been working with women for a really long time, with women, for women, serving women. Give us some tips of what you would tell young women, coming into any working environment.
Um, this is a question I've thought about a lot and have talked about quite a bit. And I think there's so much advice one could give, but I think the main piece I feel is, I think people often talk about barriers for women in the workplace and how do you overcome those barriers? And my challenge, I suppose, to everyone, to all of us, and I've done this to myself a million times, is don't put up the barriers yourself. Like it's very
Mm.
easy to kind of say, well, that's not what's expected of me, or I shouldn't be there. And I think just having that self-belief in your clear about the strength of your opinions and your ideas, and then show up and be ready to deliver them. And I think it's that simple. Like it's probably not that simple, but in my way, like that is such a big part of it. I see so many incredible women who come out of a meeting and like, oh, was I okay, or was I this? And it's just something I don't think men do in the same way.
No.
And I really, really would like women just to go, I'm going to remove my own mental barrier about what I can achieve. You can achieve anything. And I remember when I got the job as editor of Harper's, I was 29 years old. And I think I'm looking back, I just think I was so excited about the opportunity because I had so many ideas, I had so much energy, and I had so much ambition, not so much for myself, but just what I wanted to achieve with this magazine. And so often I would be there, people would say, oh no, you can't do it like that. And I'd be like, well, I can. And this is called She Can. And that's what I love. They love this podcast. She can, you can, they can. And so I think just believe in yourself, put yourself out there. And if you show up, if you can do that, and then you can show up and you can deliver, you will get ahead. So that would be my main piece of advice. A secondary one is probably, that's difficult. We all know that's difficult to do, and it's easy to say those words, but in that situation, it's sometimes tough. So I think one has to recognize that in the next generation coming up, of women, of men, of everyone actually, but give those words of encouragement that you would have loved at the time, possibly give that amazing opportunity that you would just have jumped at had it been happened. So I think I think that's important. And then probably lastly, I would say relationships. Women are pretty good at relationships, and I think that relationships all the way through your career. I think as we go through life, and we go through our career, I think we build. I'm not going to say an army of allies because that sounds too kind of, but you're bringing people with you. You have somebody texted me just 2 days ago saying, oh, who I used to work with 15 years ago. Oh, could you introduce me to so and so? And we have such a good relationship. It was like, yeah, of course I can. You know, just I think it's so important just to really, whether whichever company you're dealing with, or colleagues or mentors, or just people who are encouraging yourself, put energy into your relationships, and surround yourself with good and brilliant people at any level, and they will also encourage you in turn to be your best and help you along the way.
Lucy, I think you said really important points, and I think I've just listened to Michelle Obama talking to Tracy Ellis Ross. We have these ideas of how we have to show up, and then we're not authentic, and that's visible, and then we think we're so grateful to even be in this place. So all of those notions have to leave us, and we have to just show up authentically with our big visions and see them through and give good feedback to others, because that is essential as well. And so thank you for that. Lucy, what are you most proud of in your really long and successful career?
Oh gosh. So it's so difficult. So just surviving, I suppose. No, um, there's probably been like high points, and if I think I Harper's, it was persuading Hearst to become Harper's Bazaar, giving British Vogue back then a run for their money. And Net-a-Porter, there were a lot of people, we went there, who thought we were going to be a catalogue. And I absolutely didn't want it to be a catalogue, and I wanted it to have true purpose. And so I probably gave it more purpose than some other fashion magazines. But I remember once we did an issue that we dedicated to, it was a Save the Oceans issue that we had done to coordinate with World Ocean Day. And I remember standing on the stage of the UN building in New York with Sylvia Earle, one of the great oceanographer,
Mm.
talking about our oceans and what we could do, and sort of building, sort of talking to fashion audiences who are vast and huge, and trying to kind of make them an army in the plight to kind of save our oceans. And so I suppose I sort of love I sort of like that idea of having a platform and doing something exciting with it. At Net-a-Porter, we also did the Incredible Women franchise, which had awards and talks,
Yeah.
and we just did some amazing things there that sort of went beyond fashion and really touched people. And yeah, so yeah, I suppose those are some of the elements that I'm really proud of. I'm quite proud, I suppose, of having been a super, super risk averse person my entire life, of actually having brave enough to become brave or mad enough to become an entrepreneur. Very fortunate that I have an incredible investor who not only put the money in, but also was like, you've got to do this. It's a really good idea, and really encouraged me to kind of realize my dreams. But just taking that step wasn't easy. And a lot of people were like, what are you doing? In fact, they did that when I went to Net-a-Porter as well. So I think if somebody doesn't go, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? It probably means you're playing it a bit safe. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think that's also really important that you said that. Lucy, so what are your plans and goals for the future? What can we expect over the next couple of years?
well, we are about to launch the next evolution of Dress, which I'm really, really excited about.
Mm.
It's, launching a game, the technology, all of the aspects required to do this is really complicated, and made 100 mistakes along the way. But now really starting to kind of see that a good idea has to be executed well, and we're now starting to execute well. So I'm really, really excited for that launch, which will happen later this year, and I think will be game changing for the way that brands connect with audiences in the future. There's a very, very exciting feature that I won't talk about now, but I think I'm really excited to kind of launch that on the world. And probably the bigger goal on that is, once once we have the product where we want to, and we really start growing the audience to the millions, I'm really excited about using that platform to talk to women about fashion in an incredibly in an incredibly sort of inclusive, exciting way. I want to showcase the best of the fashion and beauty industries, the creativity, the incredible design aspects, the inclusivity, the representation, and really show our industry as the elements of it that really are a force for good. So excited about that. Yeah.
Lucy, I'm so thankful that you're such a big visionary and that you're really also there to change the narrative and make something much better. So you come in, you change things for the better for the future generations of that industry. Lucy,
Yeah.
my last question would be, who are the people who inspire and motivate you to keep going?
Oh gosh, it's always so difficult, because I've met so many amazing people, male and female, along the way. I mean, this is the sort of the sappy one, but I'm inspired by my daughter. She's 11. She really helps me when I'm doing gaming, because she connects me with the next generation audience and tells me what's right and wrong. But I also want to make something that she would be proud of, or that if she played, I would think this is a good thing for her. So
Mm.
that's the kind of nice emotional one out of the way. Um, you were talking about owning your place at the table. And I've always found that my good friend, the model Natalia Vodyanova, she's
Yeah.
always done that. She's always feels like, I've worked hard, I'm here, I deserve to be here, and my opinion will be said. So she has a strength that I really, really admire hugely. Um, gosh, Natalie Massenet, a good friend, and someone, obviously we worked together at Condé Nast, and then came back together to really work together to launch Porter. So she's a visionary, someone who thinks outside the box. So I love that. Although it's funny with Natalie, because she thinks so outside the box that sometimes when I'm with her, I almost become very conservative in thinking. So, but then I go away and I get my mojo back, and she kind of inspires me. I've been lucky enough. I've had incredible mentors. Diane von Furstenberg. I spent a lot of time with her over the years. The fashion shows, I'd go to her apartment in Paris, and I'd sort of say, I've got this idea, I'm thinking of going here. And I remember actually when I was about to leave Harper's Bazaar, I had a job offer in New York, and then I had Net-a-Porter, and I was heavily pregnant at the time, and I went up to her suite in Claridge's and ended up lying on her bed because I was just so tired. And we talked about, should I do this or should I do that? So I think that sort of, but there's so many people who have influenced me and who I've taken that advice from. And I think that goes back to the comment I made about people.
Yeah.
People are who we're making these products for, people who we're living with, who we're working with. Is the relationships that we have are the most important. And every relationship I have with, whether it's, my good friend Joe Allison at Chanel, who, is people who look at Drest and, give you that courage, whatever it might be, there are people are what drive us. And all the people are my mentors. Everybody I've had the fortune to work with in my career. Yeah.
Yeah, what a beautiful answer. Lucy, thank you so much. You're such an important role model, and I'm so excited that you're taking this luxury industry into the metaverse and making it sort of accessible for more people. Thank you so much for telling your story today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be part of the She Can tribe. So very happy. Thank you.